That's a quiet boom. Have another boom. Boom! Oh, okay, thank you. Welcome to the Australian Poetry Hall of Fame on Thundercloud, booming away, washing away the garbage, leaving rainbows after rains. Tonight, let's have some fun and linguistic games on this 27th of September, 2023. Oh gosh, there's only 4 more days until they begin daylight saving. So they're going to mess up our body clocks, but that's all right because I've set my alarm half an hour early for the next 4 days so I can ease into daylight savings.
Full moon on Friday.
Yeah. And Friday, we've got our karaoke night here from 6 o'clock for the Gyra Trout Festival 2023. On Friday night, there's the karaoke. On Saturday, there's the market in here and in the street, the old car display, the fishing competition. There's all kinds of other stuff. And then on Saturday night, Layla and Beck White are playing here with Richard Stanley. Sunday, there's a poets' breakfast here and the Young Poets competition. And Monday, we've got, me, Thundercloud's Australian Poetry Show, 10:30 and 1:30 p.m. All right, let's get the show, the Poe on the road, and begin with some poetry. To begin with the, country towns, because we're in a country town. This is from a book I got just yesterday from Debbie, who had this at Sydney Seventh-day Adventist High School. It was published in 1970. This is the 1972 version. So it's as old as me. And it is 100 poems, an anthology for 4th form. And 4th form is like grade 10. It's like the end of junior high before you go into your 2 senior years. And I'm going to focus on the end of the book. People like Kenneth Slessor, Nancy Cato, and F.S. Burnell and a few others there tonight. Now, Country Towns by Kenneth Slessor. Country towns with your willows and squares and farmers bouncing on barrel mares, to public houses of yellow and wood with 1860 over their doors, and that mysterious race of Hogans which always keeps general stores. At the School of Arts a broadsheet lies, sprayed with the sarcasm of flies. The great go-lightly family of entertainers here tonight, dated a year and a half ago, but left there less from carelessness than from a wish to seem polite. Verandas baked with musky sleep, mulberry faces dozing deep, and dogs that lick the sunlight up like paste of gold, or roused in vain by far mysterious buggy wheels, lower their ears and drowse again. Country towns with your schooner bees and locusts burnt in the pepper trees, drown me with syrups, arch your boughs, find me a bench and let me snore till charged with ale and unconcern. I think it's noon at 4:30. So that's
lovely finish.
Yeah. So that's Kenneth Slessor there. The next one I've got here marked for you is by Ian Moody, who was one of the Jindy Warrabacks, who tried to introduce a sort of an indigenous flavour, but at the same time an Australian nationalism, create an Australian nationalist kind of poetry by introducing a First Nations flavour. Snake. Suddenly, The grass before my feet shakes and becomes alive. The snake twists, almost leaps, graceful, even in terror. Smoothness looping back over smoothness slithers away, disappears, and the grass is still again. And surely, by whatever means of communication is available to snakes, the word is passed. Hey, I just met a man, a monster too. Must have been, 7 feet tall. So keep away from the long grass. It's dangerous there. Ian Moody. Yeah. Keep away from those humans. All right. Now I've got 2 poems here dealing with similar subjects, but one of them is The Poet Is Not Known. The second one, it's Hugh McRae, and it's one I've done before, Song of the Rain. So I just want you to compare and tell me which ones you prefer out of these 2. This one's called Now That the Chill October Day. Now that the chill October day is declining, pull the blinds, draw each columnar curtain, till the room is full of gloom and of the uncertain, gleams of firelight on polished edges shining. Then bring the rosy lamp to its wonted station on the dark gleaming table in that soft splendour. Well-known things of the room grown deep and tender gather round a mysterious congregation, pallid sheen of silver, the bright brass fender, the wine-red pool of carpet, the bowl of roses, lustrous hearted crimson and purples looming from dusky rags and curtains. Nothing discloses the unseen walls, but the broken, richly glooming gold of frames and opulent poles of mingling dim colours gathered in darkened mirrors. So that is Now That the Chill October Day. Next one, Song of the Rain by Hugh McRae. Night and the yellow pleasure of candlelight, old brown books, and the kind, fine face of the clock, forged in the veils of the fire, its cuddling talk. The cat, greening her eyes on the flame-litten mat. Wickedly, wakefully, she yawns at the rain, bending the roses over the pane, and a bird in my heart begins to sing over and over the same sweet thing. Safe in the house with my boyhood's love, and our children asleep in the attic above. Hugh McRae.
Yes. Well,
Quite different.
to our taste now, both are a little bit lachrymose. They're beautiful
What do you
because
mean
that
lachrymose?
mood
What does that mean?
very deeply sugared and thick like syrup, but the syrup of emotion. But just a quick comment, that's a quick comment, would be that the first one repeats itself. Whoever wrote it could have left it about halfway. There's nothing that buds on the end of the branch in that one, but I loved it. I loved the first half. And the second half was just feeling the nice warm fur around me as the snowflake hits the window. But the second one, I find the ending a little bit, as I said, lachrymose, a little bit too. We used to talk about it in class as kids. Our teacher would talk about the cloyishness of John Keats. I found it a little bit cloyish.
I agree, but I think that's good. I think if a bit of cloying in poetry after a fairly bleak setting is quite good. And certainly when Keats did it, it was quite convincing. Like burst joy's grape against his palate fine.
I found that convincing.
Yeah. Well, you people out there on YouTube, go back, rewind it, because you can do that. Listen to them both again, and then in the comments section, write which one you prefer. Did you like Now That the Chill October Day, and why? Or The Song of the Rain by Hugh McRae?
Who wrote the first one?
A poet not known.
You're joking.
No, that's what it says. I will Google it because it might be findable these days.
Yes, do, please.
Yeah, I will do that later. Yeah. Now the final one I'm doing tonight out of this book is Mangrove Swamp by F.S. Burnell, who was he wrote a book of poetry in 1912, but he was an ABC broadcaster for most of his life. F.S. Burnell. Mangrove Swamp. Look at how the slow, fat bubbles break in rings, as though a man were stifling underneath. The black, stagnating water by no breath is stirred, a mirror for all evil things. The long roots writhing upward from the mud, like fingers crooked in lust or pain or greed, have pendant tresses of putrescent weed, like dead men's hair clogged stiff with their own blood. No light of flowers nor songs of birds dispel the breathless, stealthy silence of the place. Only a ripple o'erspreads the water's face, at times like soundless, dreadful mirth in hell. Only the grey mists come and go beneath the pallid shadows of the sickly moon. Only dead voices in the night breeze croon a drear and melancholy mask of death. Mangrove Swamp by F.S. Burnell.
Oh, I thought that was much better than the other two.
Yeah.
Much more evocative.
It is.
Hello, Alexander Pope. No, we got the
that second one in particular, like long roots writhing upward from the mud, like fingers crooked in dust, in lust or pain or greed, have pendant tresses of putrescent weed, like dead men's hair clogged stiff with their own blood. Yeah.
I meant
And in lesser hands, that would have just sounded pompous and false, but it's quite natural with this guy.
I meant Alexander Poe, not Pope. It's got a certain Poish feel.
Yeah. Now, I don't know if you even got a message. I did send out some messages last moment about what to write about tonight, but no. Skye got it. I got it. I did. I made it. Skye got it. Did you write anything, Skye? You're writing it. Oh, cool. Okay. Well, I'm about to find the one I did, and I think the prompt was free write about a place that you really, really like, and I'll just find it here. Okay. So it's a poetry writing exercise and a prompt, free write, and it's write a poem about a place you love, and it's a way to start writing whatever comes out, and without worrying about the grammar, the spelling, punctuation, and you just keep writing until you run out of things to say. For this prompt, I don't think I sent it to you, Gabriel. For this prompt, focus on a place that you love. It could be anywhere. So at home, you're free to stop the video, go and get a pen and paper or your iPad and write this down. It could be from your childhood home to a vacation spot, and what makes that place special to you? What are your favourite memories of being there? What sights, sounds, smells do you associate with this place? And once you've got a good idea or what you want to write about, just write and don't worry about it. Just focus on getting it on the screen, on the paper. So here's an example. It's called The Beach. The beach, my happy place, where the waves crash and the seabirds call, where the sand is warm and the sun shines bright, where I can relax and forget my worries, except when there's sand in my budgie smokers. I love to walk along the shore and feel the sand between my toes. I love to swim the ocean and let the waves carry me away. I love to build sand castles and watch them wash away with the tide, and then I go into the surf and try to get the sand out of my arse crack. The beach is my place of peace, where I can connect with nature and myself and feel my balls as I wash the sand out of my rainbow budgie smokers. So that's it. So yeah, don't worry about grammar, punctuation, spelling, you just write it down, you get your feelings and your thoughts down, and then you write until you run out of things to say. And if you want to, you can go back and edit it later, or not, but don't be afraid to be creative and expressive. So that's an idea for you tonight. So yeah, poetry prompt. So one of the ones that I did, because we got the trout season, here we go. We got rainbow trout season start. Oh, rainbow trout, you jewel of the stream, your colours sparkle with scales, your scales gleam. With the start of the season, we celebrate your leaping beauty, your playful gait. The Gyra Trout Festival's here. A time to gather, a time to cheer. Yay! Anglers cast their lines with glee, hoping to catch you rainbow trout free. From the crystal waters of Laura Creek, a silver-lined rainbow shining and sleek, with a symbol of nature wild and pure, we'll catch rainbow trout with a lure like this. So, let us raise a glass to you on this day of celebration too. May your trout season be bountiful and bright, your beauty and leaps fill us with awe and delight. That's probably the most kitsch poem I've ever written. Anyway, all right. Is anyone ready to come up? Oh, actually, no. Before I do come up, it's been a year, I don't know, it's been a few years. A few people have passed away, and I have done tributes to people in the past. Yesterday, another friend of mine from Campen left this world. Frances Hood. So she was one of these people who just really stood up and fought for all that she believed in. Really. She was a really staunch cannabis anti-prohibition legalisation campaigner. So, Vale, another day, another friend gone away, your life was good. We will miss you, Frances Moonshadow Hood. So, we will light up and have a toke, for you fought for all who love their smoke. Amen. Thank you. The other one, the great tragedy that we lost in this past week, was the great Peter Van Dyke, or whatever his name, Van der Werk it was, or Peter Pedals was he better known as. He was actually the guy who started the Rainbow Power Company. He invented a bicycle juice machine, a juicer, and he used to sit on it and juice it. He invented a bicycle washing machine, and then he set up the Rainbow Power Company. He only retired a few years ago, but he was also very active, and he used to go in there every week still and get his stuff. So yeah, two Campen legends who will be sadly missed, Frances Moonshadow Hood and Peter Pedals.
I think I remember him. I didn't know him, but as you speak, I could see him on his push bike.
Yeah.
I often used to see him over many years. He was there many years, wasn't he?
Oh, Yes,
Yeah.
right from the very beginning.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Back in Terry McGee's day.
Yeah. So, on that note, would you like to come up, Gabriel?
Oh yeah, I can go.
Okay.
If you like.
Gabriel Donleavy, Professor.
5 today.
Ooh.
Well, as you say, I didn't know that the exercise for today was place, but I had already written about a place, so fortunately it's on my phone. And it's not a real place, it's a place in a film, and the film is called Pleasantville. To Pleasantville, I wish I could migrate, where everyone lives bland, contented lives. No sex, no stress, no rage, no greed, no red. Young television's rosy black and white enthralls us as it lulls us to prolong. An innocence so strange, a little blinkered, between the Berlin butcher and the wall. The film shows how the 50s fell to pieces as colour could no longer be kept down. But happiness can live with this unfolding by letting changes happen as they may and not letting tomorrow spoil today.
Now, what movie was that from?
Pleasantville was one of Reese Witherspoon, or I can't stand, one of her first, but she was very good at it. And it starts off black and white, and it's set in the late 50s. And she sort of walks through a TV, and there's this emerging 60s sort of scenario in colour in it. I think it is on, I think I've seen it on when I've been surfing YouTube. It's interesting. Right. Feeling a bit bouncy a few days ago. I thought I need bringing down to earth, and nobody does it better than Sylvia Plath. If you're bipolar and you're in your manic phase, then Sylvia Plath will bring you down to the middle. Don't read more than 2 though, or she'll bring you down to the bottom. Okay, 2. This first one, the courage of shutting up. The courage of the shut mouth in spite of artillery. The line, pink and quiet. A worm, basking. There are black discs behind it, the discs of outrage, and the outrage of a Skye, the line brain of it. The discs revolve, they ask to be heard. Loaded as they are with accounts of bastardies, usages, desertions, and doubleness. The needle journeying in its groove, silver beast between 2 dark canyons, a great surgeon, now a tattooist. Tattooing over and over the same blue grievances, the snakes, the babies, the tits on mermaids and 2-legged dream girls. The surgeon is quiet, he doesn't speak. He's seen too much death, his hands are full of it. So the discs of the brain revolve like the muzzles of cannon. Then there is that antique billhook, the tongue, indefatigable, purple. Must it be cut out? It has 9 tails, it is dangerous, and the noise it flays from the air once it gets going. No, the tongue too has been put by, hung up in the library with the engravings of Rangoon, and the fox heads, the otter heads, the heads of dead rabbits. It's a marvellous object, the things it has pierced in its time. How about the eyes, the eyes, the eyes? Mirrors can talk, mirrors can kill and talk. They are terrible rooms in which a torture goes on. One can only watch. The face that lived in this mirror is the face of a dead man. Do not worry about their eyes. They may be white and shy. They are no stool pigeons. Their death rays folded like flags of a country no longer heard of. An obstinate independency, insolvent among the mountains. cheers you up, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Now, one of the ones I've shortlisted for the slam competition, possibly two, that I've been working on. Let's take the really short one, the To His Bored Mistress one. And you're not allowed to bring props, so I can't wear a barrister's wig. What I thought I'd do is get an old cravat and stick that round my neck for this bit, and pretend that on my wrist is a bunch of snuff. But I thought I can't actually use any, even like salt or powder, because that'll be a prop.
Yeah.
So let's see if it works. You asked me what we'll do before we end our serial assignation. Well, though fools purport to draw the future's retroflex gyration, I shall not my plaudits pour upon some puffed up void oration. I scorn to feign false omniscience, deemed prophecy or dire prediction. I know the rules of our existence mandate my thus renewed rejection of your importunate insistence. Now, I meant to do that in with the affectation that they have in London and have had for 200 years, where if you're middle class but you work in the London City and you get promoted, that suddenly you can't say the letter R anymore and it becomes a W. But I have to practice doing that because I find it so ridiculous to actually do it. And that's a well-known affectation.
Wobbin, I wait for you.
That, yes.
Wobbin.
If you see a BBC programme
Wobbin.
like the BBC News, you can't fail to notice it. And the other one, penultimate for tonight, then I'll do another Sylvia Plath. This is Loaves and Fishes. A boy in a green jacket sat on a brown park bench, his arm around an ample blonde girl in a white mohair dress. She said, his trouble is he always wants what he can't have. And then she flounced off. He stayed, crestfallen. Lit a goal was, and threw their picnic of sandwiches to the mocking trumpet swans, pecking up the lunch and parping. 40 years on and 14 hours east, he sits on an iron bench, his arm around a panting French bulldog. He recalls the earlier scene and thinks his trouble is now he has what once he wanted. He sighs and throws his fillets of fish to one indifferent passing pelican, whose bill stayed open after catching all. And back to Sylvia, and you will prick up your ears when I tell you that this one is called Lesbos.
It's an island of Greece.
Yes, famous island in Greece, allegedly where Sappho, an early poetess, and her girlfriend inhabited. Right, viciousness in the kitchen, the potatoes hiss, it's all Hollywood, windowless. The fluorescent light wincing on and off like a terrible migraine. Coy paper strips for doors, stage curtains, a widow's frizz. And I, love, am a pathological liar, and my child, look at her, face down on the floor, little unstrung puppet, kicking to disappear. Why, she is schizophrenic, her face red and white, a panic. You have stuck her kittens outside your window in a sort of cement well, where they crap and puke and cry and she can't hear. They say you can't stand her. The bastard's a girl. You who have blown your tubes like a bad radio. Clearer voices in history, the staticky noise of the new. You say I should drown the kittens, their smell. You say I should drown my girl. She'll cut her throat at 10 if she's mad at 2. The baby smiles, fat snail, from the polished lozenges of orange linoleum. You could eat him, he's a boy. You say your husband is just no good to you. His Jew mama guards his sweet sex like a pearl. You have one baby, I have 2. I should sit on a rock off Cornwall and comb my hair. I should wear tiger pants. I should have an affair. We should meet in another life. We should meet in air, me and you. Meanwhile, there's a stink of fat and baby crap. I'm doped and thick from my last sleeping pill. The smog of cooking, the smog of hell, floats our heads, 2 venomous opposites. Our bones, our hair. I call you orphan, orphan. You are ill. The sun gives you ulcers, the wind gives you TB. Once you were beautiful. In New York, in Hollywood, the men said, through? Gee, baby, you're rare. You acted for the thrill. The impotent husband slumps out for a coffee. I tried to keep him in. An old pole for the lightning, the acid baths. The sky falls off of you. He lumps it down the plastic cobbled hill. Flogged trolley, the sparks are blue. The blue sparks spilling like quartz into a million bits. Oh jewel, oh valuable. That night, the moon dragged its blood bag, sick animal, up over the harbour lights, then grew normal. Hard and apart and white, the scale sheen on the sand scared me to death. We kept up picking handfuls, loving it, working it like dough, a mulatto body, the silk grits. A dog picked up your doggy husband. He went on. Now I am silent, hate up to my neck, thick, thick. I do not speak. I'm packing the hard potatoes like good clothes. I'm packing the babies, I'm packing the sick cats. Oh, vase of acid, it's love you're full of. You know who you hate. He's hugging his ball and chain down by the gate that opens to the sea, where it drives in white and black, then spews it back. Every day you fill him with soul stuff, like a picture. You're so exhausted, your voice my earring, flapping and sucking, blood-loving bat. That is that, that is that. You peer from the doors, sad hag. Every woman's a whore. I can't communicate. Wait, I see your cute decor, close on you like the fist of a baby or an anemone. That sea sweetheart, that kleptomaniac. I am still raw. I say, I may be back. You know what lies are for. Even in your Zen heaven, we shan't meet.
Wow.
She does plumb the depths, doesn't she?
All right. Now and then I do use a pen to write, not just my thumbs or my fingers, anymore. So this week I got my old wooden book out and wrote something on that. This is called dust. I carry water that is drunk by those with unquenchable thirsts. As water is tasteless, it's rarely appreciated. I'll repeat that. Dust. I carry water that is drunk by those with unquenchable thirsts. As water is tasteless, it's rarely appreciated. And then from that, this poem comes out. The water carrier, or the cause and effect of dust. It's a free verse. Dust rises into the air as the wind whips across the barren topsoil. Forests burn along the coast. charcoal blackened but oddly clean. Billowing smoke chokes asthmatics. Polarised water vapour, attracted to the dust and smoke, begins to form water droplets. John Mitchell, wheat farmer, looks to the sky, hoping these building clouds will bring much needed rain. Aldo Pazzuli, stone fruit farmer, looks to the sky, hoping these building clouds don't have hail. Gladys Wilson, flower gardener, admires her tulips and daffodils, admires the sky. The building thunderclouds make her take her washing inside and clean up for the day. The ducks on the lagoon take off in unison, like a school of fish, but ducks. On the wing, V-shaped, piercing the wind, have bellies full of fish, and this rain, approaching, will spawn a feast to feed 1 billion little fish, 1 trillion mosquitoes and other insects, and hundreds of thousands of water birds, green blackened forests, grow gladiola and pansies, sprout fields of John Mitchell's wheat, destroy Aldo's stone fruit crop, and blow the roof off my home, leading me to travel and then write poetry and open the Australian Poetry Hall of Fame, all because of dust and smoke becoming thunderclouds. That's it. Cute. Yeah, a little bit of a story there. All right, who's ready to go? Ashley, okay, come on up.
Well, I brought my wooden rulers to be ecologically friendly. By the by, we think that more methane is being released from the planet's skin than we're producing agriculturally or industrially. We're not entirely certain, but if that's the case, see that W? It's for worry, because methane ain't such a good thing if it's released in certain quantities.
That's the permafrost melting.
Here we are. I'll start with a poem. Sylvia, how you haunt me. My brother's best friend lived with you, nothing more, nothing less, that's it. And every time she's referenced or I hear a poem, I think of Sylvia dead and Rodney dead. Two utterly brilliant people. Oh well, my brother and I are still alive. Hypothesis, implications and parameters. That needs to be said. I will start with the grim one first. Wrote this for Savo while listening to someone worth many millions lament being 90 years old. Loveliest of rockets. Loveliest of rockets, the rockets now are blowing off the seasoned branches, bowing through trajectories where children from their doorways stare. Will it fall upon my cabbage, or blood red my weeds electrify? At hypersonic speeds, hardly see the now that's blasted to futurity, and pastness replete. I'll finger plastic buttons that show the flight of loveliest rockets, zipping might over roofs, benedictions of parabolas quiet, drop on the innocent and guilty, all alike, and bing bang boom, my doors are light. Thanks for opening the door at that moment, I like that. And bing bang boom, my doors are light. Ho ho ho, bring me my bow, bring me my arrows of disquiet. Here's a little ditty I wrote while devouring some rock cakes in the bakery to my north. Blank sheet, faraway word, drawn to you, coming, going, everyday word, one to wrap up in, the word falls onto the horizon. Blank, faraway word, faraway word. And a poem that I read while I was having my rock cake that really charmed me. My, how profound he can be in his simplicity, Herr Robert Graves. This is called Quayside, and I should imagine the professor read this when he was 18 and thought about the movements in the movements. Quayside by Robert Graves. And I will make a comment about the first line before I read the poem. The first line is, and glad to find, on again looking at it. So this is the poem. And glad to find, on again looking at it, it was not nearly so good as I had thought. You know, the ship is moving when you see the boxes on the quayside sliding away and growing smaller, and having real delight when the port's cleared and the coast out of sight, and ships a few, each on its proper course, with no occasion for approach or discourse. That must be England's epitaph, I think. That poem, you couldn't imagine anything more English. And the yea and the nay of the English and their situation in the world, past, present, and perhaps future, in spite of all of this gadgetry, perhaps they are on a proper course with no occasion for approach or discourse. Maybe there is some room for reproach in our present historical moment. Another thing I did was go to my great teacher Betty Beard's love, from when she was a university student here during the war, C.D. Lewis, and I clicked through a poem that I found is well formatted and free to read on the web. I suppose about a third of a poem that C.D. Lewis wrote called The Flight. And I was intrigued because it seemed to end at a crash they lived through, the young Australian pilots Patter and McIntosh, at Campen, New South Wales, where I once taught. So I sort of went boing, Campen getting a mention in an epic poem. I do recommend it, The Flight by C.D. Lewis. Very, very fascinating to my sensibility. I will finish with favourite place. It's interesting, I had the fortune to spend quite a bit of my 20s at this favourite place, but I couldn't afford to go and live there now. My niece, who's a powerful, well, will be a powerful bureaucrat, she'd love to live there too, but she can't afford to live there now. Anyway, that's a lament. A place you really like. Anyway, I had many years of it, and the poem focuses in on a real identity who's the scion of a very well-placed local family. Tulgum Creek, along the ridges above the swamps, Whitefellow horses brought teams down at Tulgum Creek grazing before the westering Great Dividing Range. Ted Bartram straddles his motorbike, a street that hardly has any traffic but the time to tell the tale of boys a climb up the pinnacle, Pumpenville side, 1930. And I'm there, Ted, with you, in our real, imaginary real climb. Pacific Ocean, no less than sublime, from the pinnacle out there east, looking out over James and all his shenanigans at Nimbin, which isn't far away as the crow flies. Talbot Creek has a certain beauty looking back east onto the reverse side of Wollumben or Mount Warning. So I wanted to finish by saying that I've forgotten what I was going to say.
Best way to finish.
Yeah. Okay, what have I got for you?
So if you haven't been to Talbot Creek, hop on your push bike and go, but you'll have to push bike around Chillingham Way, I think, still. The road hasn't been finished straight through the valley too. Don't think so?
Yeah. Oh, well, look, I've been still playing around with my AI, my generative AI, but this one's not written by them, this was written by me. Thunder and lightning began igniting as the giants of Kandahar all began fighting. It all began in 1923 when the giants arrived and we all had to flee in the winter mountains of Afghanistan near Kandahar. Was where it all began. Hundreds of giants and giant things, dinosaurs, spiders, computers, gold rings. No one knows where they all came from and oh, how quickly they were all gone. One giant picked another giant in a fight which triggered giants fighting all day and all night until the giants were gone except for two who were in love, eloped, and off they flew and hid in a cave in the mountains not far from our Afghanistan village of Kandahar. All the giants went away at the end of the day from the mountain caves we keep away. Because the giants live there, 6 toes, red hair, anyone who ventures near there. In 2005, a squadron was attacked. High in the mountains, they had to fight back, killed a giant and took his body and hid. But one whistleblower blew the lid. There've always been giants in Kandahar. Invisibility, their best strategy by far. And if you don't believe my story's true, go to Kandahar and see the giants shoot.
Like that one.
So yeah, there's all across the internet with generative AI at the moment. There are all these kind of memes or generated images of giants in Kandahar and giant things and things in Kandahar. So the Australian Poetry Hall of Fame has a couple of online websites where we sell merchandise. For example, Australian Poetry Hall of Fame t-shirts and hats and also Giants of Kandahar merchandise. So you can look up australianpoetryhalloffame.com.au or Meanwhile in Australia, or one word, .com, and you'll find a range of poetry merchandise which supports the operation of this place here. Now, if you're liking tonight's broadcast, make sure you give it a thumbs up. Do it now, please, while I'm just talking to you, rabbiting on, and we're waiting for Skye to come on up next. So, and while Skye's getting ready to come on up, I'm going to tell you the Gyra Caspers theme song once again because they won the football last week, the soccer. With the Gyra Caspers and we're great, we're the friendly ghosts from Gyra, mate. We train in the wind and rain, sleet and snow, we're tough little ducks, fast not slow. Gyra Caspers fly like the breeze, float like butterflies, sting like bees. With the Gyra Caspers, leave. Let the game begin. We stand strong in the wind and we're here to win. That doesn't really go. I need to work on my how I deliver that. Gyra Caspers is our call. We're the friendly ghosts and we play football. We kicking goals in the wind and snow. We're the Gyra Caspers. Go go go.
Oh, good.
Yeah,
That's good.
Yeah.
Have you got a movie of them singing it or something like that?
No,
It'd be good to have a thing of them on a bus or something doing
Oh,
that.
absolutely,
Great,
wouldn't
look
it?
good.
Yeah.
If you can screen it out.
Yeah.
Go, go, go.
Go go go.
Show. Kick of the
All right,
ball.
Skye.
Kick.
You haven't finished? Are you going to share that?
Oh, well, I wouldn't have written any of that but for today, but for here. Stimulants.
Okay.
Aye. Oh, I know what I was going to say, but I forgot.
What were you going to say?
Is your happy place?
Okay. I'll read out what I've got. My happy place. Yes. Alright. The place I love, it will always be a place in the hills in the high country. They call it the town of Mount Beauty, a valley surrounded by the icy cold streams, snowy mountains and waterholes of crystal clear waters to float down the rapids on a tire tube. If not, you'd be bold, rolling and battered on rocks of fool's gold, then bathed in the warmth of sun rays shining, taking smells in of gum trees blooming, the flowers of wattle and the dusty tracks. Less taken to the jewel of clear waters, a peaceful place of locals, calling it the mermaid, shimmering bright and beautiful in the sun, all glistening and shining.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's, and so viewers and everyone else in between, that's exactly what we mean by free write. Just write and write about your favourite place, because once you start thinking about your favourite place and remembering it, like, yeah, I know Skye's from Mount Beauty. That's where she grew up. It's her home. It's where she's from, and it's in the Highland Mountains of Victoria, isn't it? Up near Falls Creek, where there's snow and stuff like that. So
Was it near Falls Creek?
Yeah.
Different?
The Valley of Falls Creek, yeah.
Different to most places.
So
of this
she's
continent.
very much, used to the cold of Gyra, that's for sure. And you really did have some great descriptive language in that. So yeah, well done. Yeah.
Oh, what I was going to say is interesting historically. If they can hear me, I was going to mention about the Tulgum poem that pays to read books. One day I was at Tulgum 20 years ago, and they said, what's this about the bridge structures we found on the ridges up above Tulgum? How come there's bridges up there? And I said, don't forget, you first came along the ridges out of Wollumbar and had to build bridges to bring your stock down into the second western valley of the larger Tweed Valley into Tulgum Valley. And just a funny story. They'd forgotten, the local people, but I'd read their history book, which I don't know if they read thoroughly, and passed that on to them 50 years, 60, 70 years later.
Okay, that's
It's
quite
quite funny.
Some people give more than they take, and others take more than they give. Some give regardless of how little they make, and some that make lots never give. Some clean up while others make a mess, and some never change while some strive to be their best. Some work long hours and rarely rest to rise to the test and stand out above the rest. That's that. It's my wooden book. I got a wooden book I don't know, 7 or 8 years ago, and it's wooden and it's got these old bits of handmade paper with bits of leaf in them and stuff, but because it's so thick, like, and I'm left-handed, I can't use it normally because there's a big wooden thing in the way here. So I have to turn it upside down and write this way. So it's a backwards frontward, upside down wooden book.
How do you decide which ones you're going to write in that one?
It's a
as opposed to everything
left-handed
else?
book.
Well, I start, it's a left-handed book. So you start there and then you just go in this direction. So I'm reading backwards.
James.
But what decides you to put a poem in there rather than on the computer or some other piece?
Oh, just like when I just get kind of really, really profound ideas. Yeah, more philosophical kind of things that go into this.
The deep stuff goes in the wooden book.
Yeah, when he needs to write in the back of a book, he gets the book that has the front at the back.
Yeah, very much.
Did you ever get a handmade book, being a Brizzo,
No,
by Noodle String?
no.
I'll have to write an epic about Noodle String.
So it's things like learn something new every day, open your mind to what other people say, learn from nature, birds, animals, and be aware of your surroundings, the sunrise, the sunset, wind, rain, and air. Wise people ask why and question the mundane. Raise your consciousness by putting new data in your brain. Yeah, that kind of stuff, yeah. Find your artistic side and embrace your inner child. Find it and release it and let it run wild. Put the past behind you and stand on your own 2 feet. Change your diet and discover new healthy food to eat. Run up a mountain and also run down. Roll if you trip and pick yourself up off the ground. Yeah, that's the kind of stuff, yeah. But there's just some more self-reflective things that I want to do for myself. Learn to swim so that you can swim in the sea with me and the dolphins and the waves swimming free. Look for the beauty that is inside. The ugly book covers have beauty. The rewards sometimes hide. Learn something new and don't be mundane. Don't deny or diminish yourself or constrain. That sort of thing, yeah. Made it up. How about you, Saul?
I've just got one. I've got about 2 more words to write.
All right. Well, then I'll just do one more to finish off out of my weekly collection from the iPad here. If I've got one, or maybe I don't actually. Because I've actually finished all of the ones I've done this week. Oh, hip hop. Yeah, okay. Now, this one I actually wanted to write a hip hop song. And I was thinking about different workshops that I could have here. And of course, a hip hop song needs it needs a chorus, needs a verse, it needs a bridge as well. And yeah, and some more choruses. So hip hop never stop, your words will pop at the hip hop workshop. You can be the top. I guess you're wondering what it's all about. Everyone has words that they want to get out. Don't keep it to yourself resentfully and pout. You can write hip hop, you can sing and shout. Hip hop never stop, your words will pop at the hip hop workshop. You can be the top. Take a pen or phone, anyone can have a go. Once you start to write, words will start to flow. Mamas and the papas, the sisters and the bros, stand and perform the words you compose. Hip hop never rest, your words your test at the hip hop workshop. Learn to write hip hop. It's a rhythm that you'll write. It won't take long. Put it to a backing track and you'll have a song. Take it to the world and stand up strong. You could be a bigger hitter than old King Kong. Hip hop never stop, your words will pop at the hip hop workshop. You can be the top. And yeah, and you can put that to a beat. And I did actually, didn't I?
Yeah.
And it sounded all right.
Really good.
Yeah. I generally find at the moment I just look for free hip hop backing tracks on YouTube, and then I just sort of tend to do them. And the other one that I am learning, because we got the karaoke this weekend, is Eminem's Guess Who's Back. So yeah, Saul, are you ready?
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. All right, come on up.
I hope the editing's good.
There's a
I'll
good,
wander off into...
there's a good poem. I hope the editing's good.
Yeah.
The end of it, or the beginning of it.
So yeah, been a big week. I haven't written much, and I just wrote this just now because I didn't know what was. I just wanted to be here. So, and one's favourite place, and when one sets to thinking about one's favourite place, it's pretty broad for me. I sort of, I grew up on a boat and in the bush and here and there, and always there's different places and things, so it's all, for me, it all gets pretty close to home. Okay. This must be the place that I love the most. Here, among this multitudinous host, born of stardust, then Mother Earth to be our grave. But within exists the spirit of the game. Be brave, I say, and love this place, and take each day with gracious grace. For a win today may be a lose tomorrow, and blissful joy can so easily become a sorrow. And of course this can happen turned around, and happiness can turn a frown around. For good, for bad, within, without, and everywhere. So when asked about my favourite place, it's here.
You got to write a book. No, serious. You got to put your poetry in a book. I'll publish it for you if you want.
Thanks.
Yeah, but no. That's great. Like,
You like that?
no, I'm speechless. I've got nothing to say, but great. Yeah,
Oh, thank you.
I really, 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 really do. Yeah, it's because it's that sort of stuff that's really just, it's spontaneous, but it's your voice, and then delivered in your voice, of course. But it's got there's so uniqueness about what you write, and it's really lovely. Yeah. Yeah, I know, so it's just really, yeah, put them all in one Google Doc. That's the easiest thing. Just copy and paste them into a Google Doc.
Right.
And then,
I actually turned my computer on for the first time in 2 years or something.
yeah.
That's good.
And yeah, so that's what I tend to do. Once I, every month or two, I'll go through my Facebook page, my web pages, and I'll just copy and paste everything that I've written everywhere from everything into one Google Doc, and I do that on an annual basis to keep it all collated.
Okay. Yeah.
So that's why I'm only up to, 2018 so far, and I've still got 2019, 20, 21, 22 and 23 to publish. Like, I know, and 2019 is 2 books of 400 pages plus.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I was writing like 3 or 4 bits of poetry a day, every day that year. If I didn't write one, it would have been a very rare day. I might have been nearly dead. Yeah. So, well, look, I've finished. You're finished. Everybody's finished. Well, I should pick up a random book, Cole Newsom, because let's do a random Cole Newsom before we finish. The Duffer's Alibi. Because Cole Newsom said his family actually made their money from cattle duffing, apparently. The duffer shot and bled the steer in the scrub of no man's land. First he skinned the near side rump which bore the owner's brand. A desperate man with savage strokes, he skinned the near side hip. Then he cut the brand up long and thin as though he'd made a slip. He wrapped it round his pointed steel, and when he saw the troopers ride, and up the dead beast's anus shoved the piece of branded hide. We've caught you with your trousers down, the troopers turned to gloat. We laid the trap and heard the shot and saw you cut his throat. The duffer said, this steer is mine, he hasn't any brand. His mother died and he grew up right here in no man's land. They dragged the duffer up a tree to which they cuffed his wrists, and then upon his brawny ribs they laboured with their fists. The sergeant asked the question, where's the branded strip of hide? The duffer thought he'd had enough and truthfully replied in words of desperation, it's up the bullock's arse. The sergeant punched his ribs again. Don't give me any sass. They skinned the beast, each took a share to confiscate, of course. And when, with the mutilated hide, took the prisoner and his horse, He was soon interrogated by experts in the game, but though they coaxed and bullied, his reply was still the same. They engaged a cunning stoolie to share the duffer's cell in hopes to gain his confidence and try to make him tell. The stoolie told the troopers, "You fellows must be dumb." He shoved a piece of branded hide up the bullock's bum. The troopers raced back to the scene, the evidence too secure, but instead of guts and offal, they found crow and hawk manure. Without the piece of branded hide, the case was incomplete. Once freed, the duffer shifted camp on very restless feet.
That's nice.
Yeah, so a nice Aussie bush poem to end. So don't forget, we're taking entries for this New South Wales Bush Poetry Championship, auspiced by the Australian Bush Poets Association. At the moment, you can go to the abpa.org.au website and download the entry forms there. Or you can also download the entry forms on the Australian Poetry Hall of Fame website.com.au/downloads, or also on the events page as well. And so yeah, that's coming up in November the 18th and 19th, here in Guyra. So yeah, have a great Trout Festival. Thank you very much for coming, poets, and sharing your words and other poets' words. And if you're out there in Facebook, YouTube land, please make sure you give this a thumbs up. What else? A comment we need. Hey, share it, send it to your mum. Yep, or your sister, or your, I don't know, your friends, whatever. Share it in your poetry group. Send it overseas. All right, I'm Thundercloud, washing away the garbage, leaving rainbows after rains. That's Wednesday words, and I'm out of here. See you later.
Good night.
Boom.
Night.